Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Sir Hunt on X, live from Cincinnati, Ohio, in the United States. Hope everyone had themselves a wonderful April 3rd and 4th of the calendar year 2025. And those who's watching in the Cincinnati area, I hope everybody is safe. I saw the footage and the photos of some of the unfortunate circumstances with the weather. Few people at work showed me what happened in their area. Hope everybody is safe amid all of these conditions. And apparently, there's more supposed to be coming. So, it's hoping everybody out there is safe. Not the prettiest weather, not the most ideal weather that you want to be around at this time of year. But, it's Mother Nature. What can you do? Just stay safe, be safe, find yourself in safe confinement, whatever it may be, because that is what's going to happen. And they're calling for more rain, possibly over the next 48 hours. Especially in this area. I know there's some other areas that have been hit. I know I have some people over in Nashville who said they've been hit with storms. Hope you guys are safe. Somewhere in parts of the Midwest, same there. I hope you guys are safe. It's just crazy that all of this is coming around, and we're in just the beginning of April, and we're supposed to be getting spring weather. So, but over the next several days here in Cincinnati, it's supposed to only be in the highs of the high 50s. Go figure. Only in Cincinnati. Lots to get to a little bit. Just want to touch on several things here tonight. Biggest news that came out of Cincinnati, and there's a lot of reaction all over the place, and I'm going to try and settle this down a little bit. It came out that Bengals executive VP Katie Blackburn talks about the supposed lease that's supposed to expire in 2026, making a comment saying, after next year, I guess I can go wherever I want. And of course, the Bengals media, the Bengals fans, and the Bengals super fans have their panties all up in a bunch. Don't read too much into it, because they can still extend at least 2 more years. They still have till July 30th, excuse me, I think it's June 30th to get this thing done. And I expect it to be done. You guys are just pushing yourselves down this lady's throat simply because you guys feel the need to get involved in her business. You want an answer. You're trying to force an answer down her throat because you guys in Cincinnati are a bunch of degrading, no good for nothing, half-empty morons who 90% of you guys live in your mama's basement, stuck on your phones, sit on the TV and watch the couch, because that is Bengals fans in a nutshell. Let's just put this in perspective. You guys remember what happened many years back when this took place in the mid-90s with the Mike Brown and Hamilton County went into a standstill? Everything finally worked out. Everybody here needs to have more patience right now in Cincinnati, because I'm not expecting them to leave the city anytime soon. I mean, where are they going to go if they do? I mean, but even if they do want to go, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. It's Katie Blackburn's call. I mean, I'm not the biggest Katie Blackburn fan. I think she is as inept as her father, the inept owner, Mike Brown. And a lot of this stuff is going to continue to be inept as long as the Browns and the Blackburns have their fingerprints all over the organization. Doesn't matter if they're in Cincinnati. Doesn't matter if they're in Nashville. Doesn't matter if they're in Timbuktu. It doesn't matter if they're on the other side of Abu Dhabi. They're still going to be inept. They're still going to break your hearts when you least expect it. And when you're ready to think they're going to turn the corner and actually put together a productive franchise, they're going to let you down. And you guys are still the most gullible, senseless brain, gummy style brain idiots that fall for everything, regardless of what they say on the media. I mean, I'm not expecting anything to happen out of this simply because, they know they got another couple years on their lease, and I expect that to be done by June. Supposedly, there's a mediator, some kind of lawyer, I don't know who they're representing, is going to try and iron this out. Apparently, they want to try to keep a longer-term deal, but who knows where this one's going to go. But everybody in Cincinnati needs to go live in a freezer till the season starts. And basically, you put some super glue on your lips, and then after you're done putting super glue on your lips and shutting your mouth with a super glue on your lips, get a big stapler and staple your mouth shut till the season starts, because you guys are still whining over a whole lot of nothing. Just plain and simple. You guys wanted Jamar Chase and T. Higgins signed. You got it, but it's not good enough for you. You guys are trying to get Trey Hendrickson signed. not good enough for you. Now you guys are onto something else. I've always said when it comes to you guys, the only fan base in my whole years of being around sports and covering sports that have been as close as you guys was the excuses Mike Tyson fans made in the 90s after his loss to Buster Douglas and Evander Holyfield. We know the story with that. You guys have just found yourselves to be worse than them because it's always about what you guys want. You guys are never happy. I mean, a lot of you people are married. Are you guys happy with your marriage? That's what I think of when I think of Bengals fans right now. The Bengals fans, the Bengals super fans, and all these media people like Fox 19, Channel 5 WOWT, Channel 9 WKRC, Channel 12, Channel 9 WCPO, Channel 12 WKRC, and the morons like Sarah Elise of EBN and Mo Egger of whatever the frick he does, and among many others. That's why the only guy worth listening, the only two people that's worth talking to or listening to when it comes to the Bengals are Lance McAllister and Laurel Farler, and that's it. You listen to those two because they get it. Everybody else, there's just a bunch of senile, useless bunch of crock that comes around in the city. Everybody needs to chill out. This thing is going to be done. The Bengals aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Please go live in the freezer, super glue your lips shut, staple your lips on top of it, and put about 20 layers of duct tape till the season starts because anything you guys say is irrelevant, and you guys want to try to make yourselves relevant. How about this? Go live in a freezer. That's what I have to say to you guys right now. Every week over here, the news, it's always something about Bengals fans who have a problem with everything that is said about them. I mean, I've never seen a more sensitive group of human beings than it is the Bengals fans all over the area of Cincinnati. It's always the smaller stuff. Sometimes I wish they learn how to grow a pair and learn how to use that pair the right way. Because I'm 47 years old and I've learned how to do that. I learned that long before some of those kids were even born. Give me a break. And speaking of the NFL, it's now been reported that they're contemplating an 18-game season. You know, first they said no, then they said maybe. Now it's being contemplated. As I said many times on many NFL shows that I've been on over the last year, the NFL doesn't care about player safety. And here we go again, having a conversation about the sort of thing because they won an 18th game. They won an 18th game, and nobody's happy with 17 games. Nobody's happy with, the turnaround from the Sunday to the Thursday, the short turnaround. And of course, you get the mini bye week, but the short turnaround, nobody likes. And we know what happens with player safety, that the NFL hasn't give a darn, going back to when a fellow named Gene Upshaw was a part of the NFL Players Union. And everybody knows the story with that. I mean, someone laid it down perfectly. If you're going to have an 18-game season, you better have 2 bye weeks. But we know they're not going to do that. It's all about the financial ringing and the ratings aspect for what the NFL wants. I've never been one that talks about what the NFL brings in terms of cash flow, because you can speak that for itself. But I'll just say this on the outskirts. If they want to have an 18-game season, good luck. I mean, the owners will probably vote for it if they can, just because it means more dollars in their pockets. And it means that less for the safety of the players, which I said just minutes ago, the NFL don't give a darn about player safety. So they want to go ahead with this 18-game season. Just after they announced that, once again, they want to do the flexing out of the Thursday night schedule. Instead of it being a 28-day notice, now it's going to be a 21-day notice. Wake me up when the NFL once cares about player safety, because anybody with a cosmic brain knows they don't. Because they're doing it again. They did it last year with the flexing of the schedule. I think the Thursday night schedule was a Thursday night game with the Bengals and the Browns, got flexed with the Chargers and the Broncos. I get it. The Bengals and the Browns were just the epitome of the bottom barrel, and the Chargers and the Broncos were fighting for a playoff seed. Got it. But how do you explain, not just from the player's perspective or the coach's perspective, how about the media perspective and the fans' perspective, who has to adjust their travel so they can do this accordingly? And we know people all over the place with all 4 organizations, the Chargers, Broncos, Bengals, and Browns, were not happy about it. Wake me up when the NFL actually cares and actually gives a darn, simply because they haven't ever since I've known him. I mean, I could go back even before Geno Smith was a players union rep. And now they're talking about banning the tush push. We know there's a lot of controversy with that. Roger Goodell wants that thing banned for I don't know what reason. He didn't even say what the reason is he wants it banned. And no, don't tell me it's because of player safety, because if the word player safety comes out of his mouth, will be the day we know him as a hypocrite. We've all known Roger Goodell as a hypocrite. And if he says he wants to ban the tush push because of player safety, it's basically his job description, because we know Roger Goodell is a hypocrite. Because he knows that that means nothing. He's always the one that tries to fix stuff that isn't broke. We saw that with a couple of rules changes already. And I don't know what he's going to do next. Everybody at the rules committee and everybody over there is basically on pins and needles wondering what this schmuck is going to do next. I quit giving a darn about anything Roger Goodell says. And now they're supposedly going to expand the NFL international aspect. They're talking about, I guess, the Chiefs and the Chargers week 1 going to Brazil, just like Philly and Green Bay did last year. Now they're going to countries like England, Spain, and Germany. They're supposed to have a game in Australia. Now they're talking about having a game at the United Arab Emirates, which I don't know what that is all about. And apparently there's supposed to be a game in Greenland that's supposed to, or Ireland, supposed to feature the Pittsburgh Steelers. They quit giving a darn about player safety, so if they want to care about more about the dollars, it's their prerogative. But just don't come out here and lie about it, because we know you guys are a bunch of hypocrites who run the NFL. We know you guys are a bunch of morons running the NFL. And I'm not talking just the Commissioner Goodell and the owners, Troy Vincent and the Players Union, who don't even back their players at all for whatever reason. And they're stuck in limbo, and it's a mess. Once we figure out that what they're made of, the true colors will come out, and they're going to be 30 for 30 documentaries all over the place about it. And Roger Goodell is going to just look like a useless piece of human junk, because that's what he is. I don't mind international play if it's just one game a season. I mean, like it was just not too long ago, because I get it. They want to globalize the product. Now you're having games in multiple countries. It's getting to a point to where it's just ridiculously overdone for a product that's basically more Americanized than it is globalized. I mean, basically, we think about the NFL, it's basically the United States of America. I get it. They want to globalize a product. Now, if you want to globalize a product, you have the stuff now for it. You have live streaming. You have all of the social media stuff. You have all of this high-tech 4K type live streaming you can do with not just, the TV channel, but with apps and everything. Why does the NFL feel the need to send players abroad when they don't want it? Nobody has an answer to it. I wish everything but the best. I'll be talking about this later, because right now, tonight, I'm on a roll. Now to a couple contracts that took place, and a couple of these are a bit of eyebrow raisers. Of course, it is what took place in Las Vegas after they got Geno Smith from the Seattle Seahawks, signing him to a 2-year, $88 million contract. I believe it's like $65 million guaranteed. I'm not the pocket watcher like everybody else is, but it just shows why the Las Vegas Raiders are the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's why they're going to be one of the 3 worst teams in the AFC coming up this season, just simply because they don't know how to spend the money. They want to fork out the money in the draft capital for bridge gap quarterbacks like a Geno Smith. I mean, he had some fine years in Seattle. Remade himself after the downfall he had with the Jets. I mean, I got to give Geno Smith that. He rebounded nicely. He's become a solid quarterback. And they basically had to move on from him because, Seattle signed Sam Darnold, which was a no-brainer. But for the Raiders to put this kind of money for really a bridge gap quarterback, it's either one of two things. Either they believe in the guy, or they're basically just trying to hold out for a year or two as they look to find a quarterback in the draft to when the time comes. And I don't know if this year's a year for it, because outside of Cam Ward and maybe one or two others, there's no real quarterbacks out there worth drafting at all. Absolutely none. Because I don't see anything that stands out. But as far as the Raiders go, that's why they're the Raiders. That's why they're always going to be in the bottom of the AFC West at the very least, the fourth best team in that division, and they're going to fix for it again. And good luck down the line over there in Las Vegas, because I don't know who Geno Smith is going to be throwing to begin with. I don't even know who's going to be protecting him, because that offensive line was just dreadful last season. And outside of Max Crosby, I don't know what that defense is made of. I mean, talk about money not well spent for basically a bridge gap quarterback who's probably going to be good for maybe a year at the most, because you started to hit this downturn a little bit in Seattle last season after a good start. So let's see what the heck the Raiders are going to do. But there's a reason why the Raiders are still the Raiders, and this is going to be in the fourth place for the foreseeable future. And maybe they'll be lucky to get 5 wins this season. I don't know when the schedule is going to be out, but I'll make my predictions when the schedule comes out. And I never thought I would talk about bridge gap quarterbacks, because a boatload of quarterbacks, we talk about Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, among many others. What I don't get is why are owners and fans fascinated on mid-30 quarterbacks or early 40s like Aaron Rodgers is, over just drafting someone and just building from scratch. Unless you have a team that's ready to win this season, signing one of those mid to late 30 quarterbacks who bring nothing to the table except a name doesn't do the trick. Because these guys can't be what they once were. And Aaron Rodgers became a bona fide coward because of his narcissism on the Pat McAfee show. And you'd be better off just tanking a year, waiting for the 2026 draft, where it's supposed to be a better class of QBs. Taking a mid to late 30s quarterback on a 1 to 2 year deal doesn't do anything for anybody. I don't know what the fascination is across the NFL when it comes to the owners, the coaches, or the fans. They have this love for mid-30s quarterbacks who are just good for maybe a year at the most. The only exception is if you have a team good enough to just simply win it all in on 1 year. But I don't see any team that's ready for that sort of discussion. And I don't think a quarterback fits in that discussion with these mid-30 guys. And speaking of highest paid, interesting one that took place in Arizona. It is Trey McBride, the highest paid tight end in NFL history. 4 year, $76 million deal. Can't think of the guarantees. Solid tight end, but I'm not sure this is the way to go, because they still have issues in Arizona. They need a number 2 quarterback opposite Marvin Harrison. The number 2 receiver opposite Marvin Harrison Jr. And still other holes in that roster to fill. Now, Trey McBride's a standout tight end. Don't get me wrong. I actually like him in this game and the fit he has in Arizona with Kyler Murray and that offense. But now what becomes interesting is what's going to happen in a couple years when Brock Bowers of the Raiders is due for an extension. And, it's going to surpass anything Trey McBride gets. And you're talking about in the area of $30 million a year, and that's going to reset the tight end market once his contract is coming up. So that's an interesting one over there. A solid player. Not sure I would pay him the dollar figure that he was paid, because, of course, the value of the tight end, maybe not as much as it once was. I mean, it's still valuable. I mean, you still have some solid ones. Trey McBride, of course, Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia, just to name a couple. But I'm not sure I would be paying this sort of a figure. And what's going to happen is that figure is going to explode once Brock Bowers' contract comes up in a couple years, and that's going to set the world on fire. Fasten your seatbelts. Because when it comes to tight end, you could probably say Brock Bowers is a generational talent, and he's going to be paid like one. When that contract is up, question is going to be, is it going to be the Raiders? Because they'll find a way to screw that up if they don't. Have fun out there in Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, especially when it comes to the stupidity of Raiders ownership. Now to congratulations to Julio Jones to announce his retirement today. The thing I get is the guy hadn't played in a couple years, and why are you coming out to announce your retirement today? I mean, I haven't seen you take a snap in more than I've seen you take a relevant snap more than 3 years. The last time you took a relevant snap was you was in Tennessee, and you basically got locked up by the Cincinnati Bengals defense some way, somehow. I mean, you was done since then, and I don't know why you had to wait till a couple years away from the game to simply come out and say, "I'm retired," when basically everyone knew you was retired when you was, done with the Tennessee Titans. Standout career though with the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, it ended not too ceremoniously over there, sort of like a situation that Calvin Johnson had in Detroit, among many other, unceremonious endings. But for his time, certainly a top 5 receiver of that time in that era. We talk about guys like AJ Green of Cincinnati and Antonio Brown of the Pittsburgh Steelers. A standout receiver fixture when him and Matt Ryan had the connection going down there at the Georgia Dome and basically just set the crowds off over there in Atlanta. And they were just a standout 1-2 duo. Julio Jones was certainly among one of the better receivers at that time when he played, right there with guys like AJ Green and Antonio Brown. A standout receiver, stellar career, got a Super Bowl appearance out of it with Atlanta. Unfortunately, forever known for 28-3. And we know what happened the rest of the way. But still a solid receiver, a solid career, right there with some of the better ones at that time. Congratulations on a great career. But we all know you retired before you said you retired. You should have said this a couple years back instead of wait till now. Congratulations, Julio Jones. Now to some futility that's going on in the world of baseball. I don't talk about baseball much, but can somebody explain to me how the hell you go 30 innings without scoring a run? That's what's going on in Cincinnati right now. I mean, let me put it this way. Monday night, you hung 14 runs on the Texas Rangers through the first 7 innings. I think 7 innings of the first 6 innings. From the 7th inning of that game till now, actually, they're probably playing now. I don't know what they're doing now. You haven't scored a run. Somebody explain to me how do you go 6 innings to score 14 runs and then go 30 innings without scoring a run? I've never seen any kind of bipolar futility that goes on as I'm seeing right now with this team. And with the lineup they have, it's just flat out inexcusable. And the sad part is you had 3 pitching gems by some standout pitchers, especially the night by Hunter Green, who's been a standout so far in Cincinnati with the Reds. And you're ruining it because you can't generate runs. Talking about from, I think it was like from the 7th inning of Monday night's game to Texas, all the way to last night. In your 3-game losing streak, you haven't scored a run. With that lineup, it's inexcusable. Key pieces are out. Yes, I understand it. But still, the guys in that lineup, you should be able to generate runs. It's inexcusable and it's unexplainable as to why you can't. And it's a walking embarrassment. They didn't bring back Terry Francona for this. I mean, he's got to be scratching his head some way, somehow. And people wanted to run David Bell out of Cincinnati because of this. Maybe it's not David Bell or Terry Francona. It's basically the mechanics of the inability to hit correctly. You have a few guys on that roster who are so inconsistently streaky and beyond unpredictable that you had a feeling this might happen. But I still can't fathom the fact that they can't generate any kind of offense for about a 30-inning stretch. I mean, we're not talking about just a 1-game stretch. This is go back to the 7th inning of the Texas game Monday night to the loss to Milwaukee last night. They haven't scored a run. I mean, I don't know how they're generating hits to get people on base, but it's embarrassment with how that lineup is. Granted, a couple of the key guys on that roster are so streaky and play on peaks and valleys, but still inexcusable. You have that kind of a roster, that kind of a team, you can't get the job done. I mean, a 30-inning scoreless streak. I'm trying to think when was the last time with it. I think they said like 1962, something like this happened, which is crazy, especially with 2 games in your own home park of Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, what's supposed to be a home run friendly, hitter friendly ballpark, and you can't generate runs, especially on a team that you just pounded 14 runs against in 7 innings Monday night. Give me a break. Now, I know you don't do well against the Brewers anyway because the Brewers find a way to have your number, but you're going to regret the 2 games against Texas, the Tuesday night and Wednesday afternoon, not being able to score a run. And right now, it's just an embarrassing way to look at it right now. You guys going to say, oh, it's still a 162 game season. Problem is, once you start saying this week's in game 6, 7, and 8, the season is definitely going to be a long one and is not going to be a pretty one, especially when you can't score runs in 30 innings. That's just embarrassing and terrible. Might as well find a way to do something to generate runs. I don't care how you do it. I mean, if you have to take a bat and just throw it at somebody to generate a run, might as well do it, because 30 innings without a run with that lineup isn't an embarrassment. It's embarrassing to be a Reds fan right now when you think about it. Just come out here and say, I saw my team go 30 innings without scoring a run. At least you're getting hits. I mean, that's the only thing I can give you. But I think one night you had one hit, one game you had like 4 hits. I don't know about last night. I didn't even pay attention to the score. All I know is you lost 1-0. And you can't even get guys on, you can't even generate hits on base. Good luck down the line, because if this offense continues, it's going to be a walking embarrassment. I just got to tell it like it is. I mean, I'm supposed to be there a week from tonight for the City Connect game, but I'm not sure what I'm going to be watching next Friday night. 30 innings without a run. 30 innings without a run. In today's baseball, 30 innings without a run, somebody needs to be held severely accountable. Maybe it's that general manager, Nick Kroll, who put that team together in the most embarrassing way possible. But we know you can't fire that guy because he's basically the puppet of the Castellinis. Anybody with a brain in Cincinnati knows that. But then again, there's too few people in Cincinnati with brains to think like that, so it's not even worth a discussion. Speaking of being able to generate hits, the biggest hit was generated 35 years ago at Madison Square Garden, and a heavyweight contender exploded with basically 3 hits with the left hook. There's a fella by the name of Donovan Ruddock when he fought former heavyweight champion Michael Dokes in a fight where the second he hit Michael Dokes, you thought you saw death in the ring, because that left hand that Ruddock calls the smash became a smash hit. 3 left hooks on Michael Dokes' chin in the 4th round. Dokes is down. Dokes is out. Dokes looks dead. And the whole Madison Square Garden is in complete silence. You don't see knockouts like this by basically a one-handed fighter like Ruddock. Anybody who follows the heavyweight division knows Ruddock was basically a one-hand fighter at that point. His right hand was just basically useless. But as a sample of a heavyweight, if he put that hit on you, it was it. And Donovan Ruddock delivered a lot of that for the better part of it, the early portion of his career. He had a title shot against Mike Tyson in '89 that went down the tubes because Mike Tyson didn't want to travel to Canada. So he was stuck with this. Whoever won this was going to be a number one contender across the board for the potential Buster Douglas Evander Holyfield fight that took place 6.5 months later. But we were stuck with Ruddock and Dokes for the time being. And Michael Dokes, who was a proven vet, a proven warrior in the ring, just got clobbered. And the amount of sweat that flew off his head at Madison Square Garden, I guess someone should have supplied the fans over there in New York with umbrellas, because they were drenched with Dokes' sweat when Ruddock hit him. I mean, 3 left hooks. Dokes was down. Dokes was dead. Actually, the first left hook, when he had Dokes slouched in the corner, reminded me of how how Jerry Cooney pounded Ken Norton in that corner in 1981. People thought Ken Norton was dead. Same thing here in 1990. The first left hook that Ruddock hit Dokes with, Dokes is sitting on the corner, and he basically looks of the appearance of like he was dead. But that was basically the end game for Michael Dokes. He got a fake 9-fight winning streak to get an undeserved title shot against Riddick Bowe in 1993, where he was beaten to a pulp in less than a minute, and the fight was over. Dokes to never fight again. But for Ruddock, he got the fight finally with Mike Tyson, even though it wasn't for a heavyweight championship, because Mike Tyson had his butt handed to him by Buster Douglas, but gave Mike Tyson 2 very, very tougher than necessary scraps. And I don't say this as a slight on Ruddock, because Ruddock had a punch and can mix it up with anyone because of that left hook power he had. But it's more defiant on who Mike Tyson was in the post-Buster Douglas version, because he let Razor Ruddock, whenever he could hit him and hurt him. Biggest lookout for Mike Tyson was, Razor Ruddock outside of the left hand brought nothing to the table, and Mike Tyson basically won a 7th-round knockout in their first fight and a 12-round unanimous decision in the rematch. In that second fight, Razor Ruddock had his jaw broke early in the fight, but managed to stay upright to go 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. And that second fight was a very good give-and-take scrap between two hard-hitting fighters with iron chins, because both of them took some leather in that rematch. But Razor Ruddock, for a one-handed fighter, did about as well as he could possibly do until he couldn't even use that left hand much anymore, and he was found out. The capper being in 1992 when he traveled to London and was just dusted off in 2 rounds by Lennox Lewis. Could never get a title shot, 3 times fought in title eliminators and lost all 3 of them. Twice in Mike Tyson in 91, once again in Lennox Lewis in 92. The end game really for him was 1995 and a declining fight against Tommy Morrison, where basically the loser was basically done at that point. And Razor Ruddock got starched in 6 rounds in a knockdown drag-out match, which was an exciting fight. Razor Ruddock maybe, had limitations. I mean, he was basically a one-handed fighter, but not necessarily the greatest left hook in the world, but because he wasn't necessarily technically sound. But he was a heavyweight, and when he hit you with it, you were gone. When he delivered the hit, that was it. Because when that left hook hit you on the chin, like it did to Michael Dokes 35 years ago, it did damage. Michael Dokes himself, maybe you could say, was on the downturn after lots of brutal wars. Maybe the downturn started a year before when he had that give-and-take fight with Evander Holyfield. Had a couple wins over less than mediocre opposition before Ruddock pasted him in 1990. Won a fake 9-fight winning streak to get an undeserved title shot against Riddick Bowe, but not a slight on Michael Dokes, simply because Riddick Bowe used Michael Dokes to duck Lennox Lewis. Everybody knows the story there. Riddick Bowe throwing the belt in the garbage can to duck Lennox Lewis. He ducks Lennox Lewis to fight the corpse of Michael Dokes to just waste him in 1 round. That's how this fight will be remembered with Ruddock and Dokes. 2 guys, you would think the winner would get the title shot, never got it. The loser, who should have never gotten the title shot, got it. That's how boxing works. That's how it worked in the 90s, especially when you're dealing with characters like Don King and Rock Newman and Bob Arum and Dan Duva. You get theatrics and you don't get competitive fights. That's what Ruddock and Dokes was all about at the end of the day. But when you talk about brutal one-punch knockouts for the 90s, probably the top. Because when Ruddock had Dokes sitting on the neutral corner with that left hook, you thought you saw death. Because Michael Dokes was motionless in that corner. 2 more left hooks with Dokes' arms on the side, on the point of the chin. Party was over. Razor Ruddock and Michael Dokes 35 years ago today, a 4th-round knockout win for Donovan Razor Ruddock. Ruddock could never capture that kind of a fire ever again, even though he had a couple of okay wins after that. Never got to that starched level. And Dokes got an undeserved title shot 3 years later against Riddick Bowe. Had a couple fights after that. Got a gift decision against Jesse Ferguson. And of course, his long battles with substance abuse caught up to him to where he passed many years back. But Michael Dokes, before the Ruddock fight, he was always in a fight that you always wanted to turn the TV on and watch because he was that exciting. I mean, he had his moments against Ruddock until Ruddock just delivered the smash and the hit, and Dokes was gone. We haven't seen any kind of smash hits in the heavyweight division in quite some time. Today they're more about pity, pity, pat, pat. It's sad. Because there were times when the heavyweight division delivered the punch, delivered the hit, and when they delivered the hit, it was it. We're not going to see anything like that for quite some time. The good old days of the heavyweight division. I miss it. I would love to go back on a time warp and relive it, because there were some good ones. There were some okay ones. But the one thing they always had, the ability to turn it up with one left hook or one right cross and put you on the canvas. I can bring up a whole laundry list of all the insane one-punch knockouts in heavyweight boxing history. Ruddock over Dokes is certainly on it. But I could probably make a show on that. It's probably going to need about an hour because it's a laundry list of them. Boy, do I miss heavyweight boxing. And to all my fight followers who know how hard the heavyweight division was back then when it comes to heavyweight boxing, that's what it was all about. You know, one punch could turn the fight at any minute, especially in the heavyweight division. That's what it used to be back then. Because back then, whenever the heavyweight division was rolling, it was always top news all over the place. Whatever show you're watching, whatever sports show you're watching, number one of the sports columns. But really, ever since 1999, the second Lennox Lewis Evander Holyfield fight, there wasn't a heavyweight fight worth talking about. And that's why mainstream decided to push it to the side. Just no glamour personality anymore. And that will wrap up this edition of Sirhan on X. I hope everybody has themselves a wonderful 4th of March 2025 and a wonderful weekend. I will be back Monday, and Monday night will be a one-topic show where we revisit a hotly disputed decision that's still hotly disputed 38 years later, and it's still one everybody wants to talk about and is still fixated on. I'll give you my views on that fight. I'll give you my views on the decision and why there was no rematch. And I'm going to remind people what a robbery is or not. Stay tuned for Monday night because I'm setting off the fireworks. And as always, make self-care your number one priority in life. Take care of yourself first before you take care of anything else. You take care of yourself first, good things will follow. If you don't take care of yourself first, or if you're not able to take care of yourself first, nothing else in life matters. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful Friday night and weekend. Good night, take care, and God bless.